Audio. Okay. How about a round of applause for Joe Sohn? I think he earned it. And a collective amen. So that's the end of this abridged version of the video. And I'll remind you, there's another hour's worth, almost an hour's worth, that will be on the website.
Bobby mute.
Am I still muted? It says that I'm unmuted. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. Well, so that's the end of the abridged version of the video. And as I said on the website, AlanOxLives.com, tomorrow you can see the entire version. Yeah, thank you, Joey. So we're about to embark now in our group discussion here. And let me give you some instructions on how this will work. You can close out your YouTube screen and come back to the Zoom. I'm assuming you've done that already. You'll all be muted until it's your turn to speak, and there will be a pop-up on your screen when we unmute you. So you'll know that that's happened. If you have something to say, go to the bottom of the Zoom screen and click on the reactions. Can you see that reactions down there? And if you click on that reaction symbol, you can raise your hand and it will stack you up in the order that you've clicked it, and we'll call on you accordingly. Does that sound good to everyone? Let me exit the full screen.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm just going to need a little bit of help here finding that. Susan, if you can help guide me to where the people who've raised their hands are, that would be helpful.
If you open up the participants tab, so if you go to the bottom of your screen and hover
Right.
over participants.
Okay, we've got it. So I find the participants, but as far as who's raised their hand, how do I find that?
It doesn't look like anyone's raised their hand so far.
All right, don't be shy. Well, no, you have to click. You need to click on, that's Charlene. Why don't we just unmute Charlene because she's raised her hand? But the way we would like to do this so you stack up on this screen in the order that you've done it is you go to reactions and you raise your hand.
The reactions are on the bottom, Bob, after participants. And if you move to the right and click reactions, it gives you some options. And one of those options is to raise your hand.
They're mostly emojis, but at the bottom of the emojis, there's raise your hand. So go ahead, Charlene.
Okay, hi, everybody. It's good to see you all. I was moved to tears just knowing today's Alan's birthday. Alan and I are first cousins. And I remember, of course, I remember being at his birthday party and he at mine. But at his party in the Rathskeller, we were 4 or 5, you know. And then our family moved to the Jackson Park area. And Alan had plenty of friends. I was in 5th grade. I knew no one. And he immediately took me in and introduced me to Sammy and so many other kids. And it was great. And I knew so many kids because of Alan, or as Uncle Lou called him, his dad, Ollie. And then he just adored Evan, his granddaughter, his daughter-in-law, and Lauren. I think there were drums in their basement from Uncle Jerry when he was 5. And Evan's laugh reminded me of my cousin Alan. So I miss him. I love him. I'm very grateful for all the effort everyone has put out. And thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you, Charlene. It's probably been about 40 years since I've seen you. Who else would like to say something? Gary, I see you. We'd love to hear from you, Gary. Unmute yourself. Or can we unmute Gary Oxenhandler?
I'll talk.
Okay,
Bobby?
Gary, you're on.
Good.
Am I seen or just heard? I'm
You are-
actually better just heard.
You've got a great face for radio.
Okay, you too, you too. Well, Janet and I are sitting here. We've just been crying our eyes out for the past 30 minutes. Joey and Bob and Bobby or Robert, whatever you go by now, whatever it may be. Thank you so much for putting this together. There, behind me is this picture that showed up is actually a painting that was done of Alan by Josh a number of years ago. Alan was performing at a wedding, and I walk by it 100 times a day, and 100 times a day I go, where is he? Because I just want to punch him in the nose for not being here. And it's interesting, of all of the wonderful qualities that he had and all of the things that he could do, he was not an athlete by any means at all. Watching him play golf was one of the saddest adventures that Harry and I ever experienced in our lives. And Josh reminded me just of a quick story. We have a swim club that we belong to here in Columbia, and Alan was visiting. And, Alan's 6'1" and very light complected, skinny as a rail. And he shows up at the swim club wearing a Speedo. And Speedos were just unheard of at the Southwest Swim Club. And I think we told everyone that he swam in the Olympics. That was the only thing that we could think of. So, there isn't a moment that goes by that I don't miss that guy. There's a piano here in our home that sits quietly waiting for him to come in the door and play. And thank you guys so much for putting this together. It's just lovely. And I look forward to watching the whole movie. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gary. Nice. Evan, you want to chime in? Well, Joey does. So I'll give you a minute let's get Joey on here. Hang on, Joe. We're going to I think Mandy is doing the unmuting. Okay, you're on, Joey.
Hi, everybody and friends of Al. The credit I took in this video is it's produced by Alan Ox and me, because what I was attempting to do was basically kind of retrofit fit his body of work. He had a 40, 50 year lifetime history, and much of it I didn't even know until I talked to Gary and until I talked to Harry and stuff. So I was trying to interpret what was in front of my face, but it was very much completed pieces that Al did, or Al and I did. And then it included my imagery. So in that respect, it kind of merged his life with my life. But by the time it got to be the many voices of Alan Ox, I felt that was the real communication goal here, because he perfected playing everybody's voice. But in the end, he found his own voice. And I think that's our own individual journey, is to find that voice. But as Bob Ginsberg, Bob Brandon, and I got to feel as this went on months by months by months, is that Al's career could be bigger tomorrow than it was yesterday. So with this video, and we've got more planned with an hour and 20-minute version of this that is likely to run in a major movie theater in St. Louis. So we do hope you stick with us, because we believe that the Ox has enough material to keep us going for a while. And furthermore, if he becomes a big success, we're going to take a cut of it, because either that or charge him.
All right, so let me remind you, it would be helpful if you'd like to say something, to go back down to that where we had talked about to reactions. Click on that at the bottom of that little tab, raise your hand. I know there's a lot of you that want to say something.
Bob, there's like 5 people with their hand raised.
Well, why am I not seeing that?
I don't know.
I need an 8-year-old here to help me.
Rob, do you want to go ahead? You're off mute.
Go ahead. Let's open up the top one because I'm not seeing the hands for some reason.
Bob, do you want someone else to call the hands who is seeing them?
Let's go with Rob Lipnick from Iowa.
Sure. Oh, there we go. I got you.
Well, it's good to see everybody, and thank you to the people who put this together. It was really great. Very, very happy, very sad. And you know, my experience with Al, of course, was in high school. And I was only at U City for 2 years, but Alan befriended me and was a good friend, really a good friend while I was in high school. And of course, he was so talented, as Bobby said. You know, he could play Rocky Raccoon. I really remember him doing that song. But of course, we would go out to lunch at a little steakhouse, you know, that sold steaks for like $2.50 or something like that. So we would often go out to lunch. I think they were on school days. And of course, I would go whenever I would come into town, because I would come into St. Louis to work, and I would go to the Cheshire Inn. And he sat behind the piano at the Cheshire Inn. And I did that many times. And what a wonderful experience that was. And then when I would come into St. Louis, I would see him on occasion. And of course, at our reunion as well. And whoever, someone just said that Alan just seemed, I followed him on video and stuff, and he did. He just was getting better and better and better. And so, you know, I loved Alan and miss him. And but it's great to see all my high school buddies here.
Thanks, Rob.
Friends.
I'm seeing the hands now, and I see Ellen Sandweiss right underneath. Ellen, you want to go ahead and take the microphone? Where'd she go? Ellen, there you are.
Nice talking. This is Kay Sandweiss, Ellen's mom
Okay.
and Alan's aunt. Alan, Gary, and Harry, they were my first 3 boys when I started dating my husband, and we got serious about each other. And so, of course, I miss him terribly. But you guys, you did a wonderful job because you brought him back for all of us to see and to hear. He was an exceptional person, and I'm so glad that you were able to show that tonight. He was just a very special guy. Thank you again.
Kay, I'll remind you, if you go to that website, you can get the full hour and 20 minutes, and you'll enjoy every minute of it.
So much. I will.
How about Brett up there in the top left corner? Brett?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm sorry.
Two Bretts.
We got two Bretts.
Oh,
Unmute me.
go
Who'd
ahead.
like to go? Sorry. Okay, thanks. I wanted to share a story that I had with Al, and I remember it to this very day, and like it was yesterday. And I wouldn't honor Al if I didn't talk about it. When this was in the 90s, and he and I worked in retail together. He joined Edison Brothers as a graphic artist, and out of all the entertainment things that he did, I knew that was the least favorite thing he wanted to do. But he signed up to be a graphic artist, and we were working, and we sat down one day and we were talking, and I was talking about how every time we went to Korea, the Koreans would have us get up and sing karaoke, and we were terrible. I was a terrible singer, and they would always make fun of us all the time, and we'd have to do this year after year, and these karaoke places were unbelievably polished. And so the Koreans would bring us out, and we would, make fools of ourselves. And I said, Al, I need a payback. I need to figure out a way to get back at these guys overseas. And I said, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a world tour. I'm going to convince the management that you need to go see factories. And as we travel around the world, because I don't know how many people knew, Al actually had a world tour. We jumped on a plane. We went to Florence, Italy. He played in Harry's Bar. Everyone loved it in Italy. We went from Harry's Bar in Florence to New Delhi, India. we were at this massive hotel, and there's a jazz club in the New Delhi Hotel. And there was an old jazz band, and I'd say most of the people in the band had, at that age, I was 30, but they seemed like they were 90 years old, out of tune, completely, you know, past their prime. And I paid the manager and I said, hey, this guy's got to get his world tour. Can we get him up on stage and have him sing a song here in India? And the manager like, no. And I paid him enough, and he let Al get up on stage. And he turned his back to the audience, and he's talking to these guys. And it's like all of a sudden, these guys got plugged in. They were like nodding with enthusiasm, and Al was, you know, talking to him. I don't know, he was like this channeling medium. And he turns around, and these guys all of a sudden turn to be like 20 years old, all completely in tune, like they had been playing for years. And he sings Route 66. He's going through the crowd. There must have been 200 people in that room. These Sikh guys are throwing their hats, they're screaming and yelling. They wouldn't let him get off the stage. And so that was India. And then we moved from India to Seoul, Korea. And this was my big payback. This is what the entire trip was all about. And I said, Al, after we do these meetings, we're going to go to this really pop Korean club. And this is what I want you to do. They're going to try to get you to sing. And I want you to refuse for 2 hours. We're going to do drinking. They're going to sing Country Roads. They're going to sing Korean songs. They're going to tell you it's honorable to get up. Refuse. Play like you're shy for 2 hours. And when I give you the nod, it's good to go. So sure enough, Al, as you know, he played it to a T. He's like, no, I'm embarrassed. I can't do this. I don't want to do it. And they're drinking and giving him a drink and come on, Al, let's try it. And he's like, no. And after 2 hours, all this music and everyone, of course, has had a lot to drink. I nodded to Al and I said, now's the time. They're like, Al, you know, the Koreans are like, Al, you're an American, represent America. And I knew that was the perfect time. And so I said, Al, now's your time. And this karaoke had a full stage with a single spotlight over one of those old big microphones. And Al gets up and he turns his back to the audience. And all of a sudden you hear this, and this little plume of smoke goes up to the light. And he turns around and he sings Fly Me to the Moon. And everyone is freaking out. All of the guys that we worked with in Korea, they were like, they had a million cuss words to yell at me. They were like, you son of a bitch, you played us. And there were people wanting to sign him to contracts in Korea. It was the best experience I ever had. And so I thought I would share that. And Al has been such a sweet guy my entire life. And I miss him terribly. And that was one of the best experiences of my life. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Brett. I never heard that story. It's incredible. And you know, it's probably a testimony to Al's discipline that he turned down an invitation to get up on stage for that long.
I don't believe it.
Brett, how about the other Brett who was waiting patiently?
Yeah, thanks. I'm really appreciative that someone put this together. So thank you. I'm not immediate family or anything, but he has affected everyone. My name is Brett Coleman, and I met him in high school, but a different way. He actually realized, maybe I'm speaking too much, but when he was doing some stuff for Jay Riggins, he was smart enough to call Parkway South and ask for the computer nerd there to show him how to use some of the software products. So he actually paid me to go through a lot of the Adobe apps and such on how to use these things. So he could take his natural knowledge of using his pen and paper pencil stuff and just turn it onto the digital platform with like Photoshop and stuff. So I thought, wow, that's really cool. I don't know if I could do that today if I needed some help and call it a school just asking for somebody like that. But he's just reached so many. I even went through a pituitary brain tumor. And while I'm in the hospital, he comes out to visit me. Wow. I mean, I did not expect him to do this, but he came out and he's just such a humble, fun guy. He was just him by himself. And I'm just there in the hospital bed. And I'm like, what are you doing here? You know? So anyway, he's just a real blessing. And I do miss him a lot too. Yeah, and when we did learn those tools, he invented some of these products, and one of them was the before the LED lights were hot, he would come and we had glowbug.com, and he'd sell these gadgets and stuff that were new at the time and people really appreciate. And shoot, he was at my house till midnight. We're working and I'm sitting down. He's smart enough. He'd stand up every 10 minutes. He's always moving constantly. I need to learn from that. Very physical, just need to stay active. And yeah, so we would work on those characters, his little Glowbug character, his website. In fact, I remember when, nobody probably knows this and I probably shouldn't even say it, but when we captured credit cards, I noticed like this name looks familiar. I looked it up. So apparently Jeff Bezos ordered from his glowbug.com once upon a time.
Get out of
Like,
here.
it ended up in the log and I'm like, oh, wow, I have his credit card. Jeff Bezos credit.
Could you share
And
that with
then,
us all now?
Yeah. Oh, is this going to be public? Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, there was even an MSNBC article. I wish I captured some of this stuff back in the day, but no, that's he's just a really humble dude, and I miss him a lot. So thanks for putting this together to allow me to share this. I never don't think I had a chance to share it with Evan or Lauren and such. So thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Bobby Brandon, you want to jump in?
Sure. Do I have to unmute?
Nope, you're good.
I'm good to go. Okay, so I just have, everybody has an ox story. About 3 or 4 years ago, you saw on the video some snippets from a one-man play that Ox put together called "There's an Alien in My Soup." When Al did that, he called me in New York and asked me for a little bit of legal advice on the theatrical side. I had some experience there, and I worked with him on it. And during that process, I learned how heavily Al was into UFOs, and has had some pretty definitive views about UFOs and the government's attempt to cover up the existence of UFOs. I didn't really talk to him a whole lot about that, but he certainly talked to me a lot about it. And so I got this UFO thing and linked to Al. And then a few days ago, Al's always haunting me because I think about him a lot. And a few days ago, as you all probably know, the Chinese government apparently sent a balloon, a spy balloon, over none other than Gary and Harry, Columbia, Missouri. And as soon as I heard that happened, I said, oh, okay, Ox, I get it. This is your way of telling me, I told you so. He just never leaves my mind and my frame of reference on lots of different issues. And certainly anytime I hear a Beatles song. I love him, I miss him. And thank you all for joining today.
And Bobby, thank you for all the work you did organizing this and pulling it all together. It's
Right back at you and Joe Sohm and Susan Sullivan.
Harry, you want to jump in? Let's unmute Harry Oxenhandler up there. Hang on, Harry. We'll get you unmuted. There you go. Okay.
With regard to that Asian tour, Ali told me a story. I never knew if it was true or not, but he told me it was exactly as happened, where he was in New Delhi and he was in a hotel and he walked into the restroom and they had an attendant there that gives you towels and stuff like that. And he walked over to the urinal and he was standing at the urinal and the attendant said to him, "Sir, are you from France?" And he said, "No, I'm American." He said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought European." And he said, "I am." Anyway, as I said, I never knew if it was true, but it was a great story. I cried pretty much throughout the video. I miss Ali every day. Think about him, play his music. And I really appreciate what you all, Joey and Bob and Susan Sullivan and everybody did to put this video together and to put this evening together. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You know, Al, you touched on Alan's comedy career. We haven't really talked much. I remember when he was going to comedy clubs, and I remember Al telling me comedy is probably the most serious business I've ever been in. It's cutthroat, brutal. He told me a story where he did his little shtick, and the guy who came up after him was kind of like a headliner, and he said, "Not bad, kid, but you know what? I'm going to take that material and I'm going to make it my own." Remember telling me that. So Carrie Icahn over here.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Carrie.
So I didn't know Al growing up. My mom, somehow my brother heard him singing, performing, and would take my mom. My mom lost her eyesight. And so they listened to Al, and then Al ended up playing at my brother's wedding reception. My brother lives in Florida, but he had a small reception here. And over the years, my brother he'd come in every month, and we would take my mom to listen to Al. She had his CDs, and she would listen to him at home. And it was just like her joy of listening to the music. When she was in the hospital, he came to visit her. He surprised her and came to visit her. And then for her 90th birthday in 2019, he showed up at her house and serenaded her. So I just have those special memories of how he, gave her so much joy in the last years of her life. So I'm so grateful. And he really was a great entertainer.
Thank you, Carrie. Evan, would you like to jump in? Lisa, it's under Lisa there. If you see Evan Oxenhandler, Alan's son. There we go.
Yes. Hi, I'm Evan. I'm Alan's son. For anybody who doesn't know me, I just want to say a couple of things, and I'm sorry I got screaming kids in the background here. Thanks so much to Joey Sum. That's such an awesome tribute. I'm like ecstatic that that's going to be around forever for people to watch. And thanks to everybody else involved in the charity and putting this together, Bob and Rick Brandon and Bob Ginsberg and everybody else who I'm probably forgetting. I'll just be quick because I got to get these kiddos to bed soon. But one other thing, Brett Coleman, it's so cool you're here. I remember the Rippingtons concert you took me to when I was a little kid. Brett, my dad and Brett used to work really closely together. He'd be over at our house all the time. One night he took me to a Rippingtons concert. I was a young musician, and I said, I don't know who these guys are. I'll go check them out. And I said, oh, smooth jazz, it's pretty cool. So thanks, Brett, for taking me to that. My first smooth jazz concert when I was a kid. It might have been at the Pageant or something in St. Louis, but anyways, I still remember. So anyways, we all know my dad for his musical legacy. I thought I would share with you guys one of his other legacies. He does actually have two brand new little baby grandkids.
Yeah.
Here's the newest one right here. This is little baby August Oxenhandler. And he was born in April. So he's almost 10 months old. We call him Augie. He's a cute, fat little man. I think he kind of looks like Lou. What do you guys think?
Hi, Augie.
And he is growing an inch a day, it feels like. He is a shy, sweet little man, just like his daddy. And he's going to be listening to his grandpa growing up, and he's going to know who he is. Ellie, our other little one, already knows who grandpa is. And it's cute. She sees him singing and she knows, she says, it's grandpa. And she'll sit there and play the drums like him. Let me see if I can grab her real quick. Ellie, come here. You want to come say hi? Why don't you come say hi to people? Whoa.
Oh my God.
So here's our other daughter. This is Eloise. Say hi to the people, Ellie.
Hi, Ellie.
You're on screen.
Hi.
Yeah, we're talking about Grandpa Al tonight. Yeah. Did you watch the video? Did you hear Grandpa sing tonight?
I hear Grandpa sing.
Yeah. So sadly, they never got to meet him. But they're going to grow up learning all about him and listening to his music and sharing his good memory. So everybody can rest assured that his memory and his legacy will live on in these little scamps here. So hope everybody has a nice night. Thank you so much for coming out to remember my dad. This is really very meaningful to me and the family.
Thank you, Evan, and relish every moment. They'll be asking for the car keys before you know it.
I know, I better not blink. That's what everybody says.
Who else would like to join in here? Looking for hands.
We got one. Bobby, can you hear me?
Yes, go. Oh, there you go. Sorry, Rick. I missed that. Okay, do
No
it too.
worries. No worries. I am going to read because otherwise I'm going to be blubbering or losing my cool. So forgive me. I did pick up the dial. Those of you who went to U City High. And besides what Bobby said about most talented and wittiest and the president, which was, I forgot that he was vice president under Bobby's presidency, which of course means he not only was incredibly talented, but he was respected for his leadership as well, Alan. But under the quote under his picture says, "I would always be in the thick of life, threading its mazes, sharing its strife, yet somehow singing." And I think that's very fitting because Alan was certainly in the thick of life. If ever there was a man who knew how to live out loud, it's Alan, and in so many ways. Bobby and I met Alan, as Bob said, when we were freshmen, and we became instant friends. And I can remember on nights, late nights, strolling around on the streets near his house, and we would talk about music, we'd talk about life, and of course we would talk about girls. And he got me a couple of dates. I won't say who or what the circumstance was, but he would also philosophize a lot. He would teach. He wanted to teach as well. I can remember even driving around. I don't know if we were in college or when, but we would be driving and he would demonstrate and lecture me about the proper way to not brake too hard if you're going down a hill. And how, do you guys know what I'm talking about? He was an expert driver, and you could ask him that. And he would then go from philosophizing in that way. You may recall that he got into Eckankar, which is the spiritual discipline of meditation, heavy meditation, and soul travel to actually reach 7 planes. So he had this crazy hedonistic, fun-loving class clown side to him, but then the pendulum would swing to a very serious thinker, a philosophizer, reader, and spiritual practitioner, which I thought was interesting. He was the class clown. Those of you remember Mr. Julius Giebler in social science class at U City High. I can remember Alan would always interrupt with cutting up and horsing around. And one time Giebler said, he was this old gruff guy, he said, Alan, if you don't stop horsing around, you're going to be the ox, not the oxen handler. And I don't, to this day, understand what the hell the guy meant because he was the ox, and that's good. That was his nickname. In our adult life, Ollie was a devoted friend, as a lot of you have said. He would email Bobby and me sometimes, I can remember, and he would say, "Hey boys, last night you were in my dreams." He would even tell us that we were connected unconsciously. And for 10 years, as our mom, Lee, declined cognitively and was at the old folks home, that's just an awful name, the retirement home in Creve Coeur, Brookdale. He would come out there and do concerts, including a time when he accompanied me and my daughter, Carrie, who's a singer. And then another time, Bob and I and 5 of the grandchildren, I think, Bob, did a concert for 150 people at the Brookdale. And Alan was not performing. He wasn't in the spotlight, but he came out and brought his equipment, 5 microphones, amplifiers. He didn't need any thanks. He didn't need any recognition. He didn't need to be in the spotlight, unlike in Korea, sort of like Korea. And so I just so loved what a great friend he was. And he would visit Mom when we weren't in town. He would just go visit her. One time I was in town driving Mom around. He comes running out to the car just to make her laugh. And he told her, he started doing impersonations hallucinations from Alien in My Soup. And he cracked my mom up so much that she started cracking jokes and said, Ollie, Ox. She called him the Ox. Ox. Ricky comes to town and then he likes to air me out once in a while. So, he just brings out humor, music, laughter, and love in everybody that he knew. And he was a friend for all seasons to everyone. I hesitate to say the next piece, but I'm going to say it and then wind up here. So thanks for your patience. We all know that Ox's final song, was a sad one. And it was in some ways a very unnecessarily early one ending. And I appreciate what you said, Lauren, and your honesty in the video, that there's some anger there too, right? And some of us may feel that along with the sadness and grief. But it reminds me of something that happened in my family when my son Eric was 6 in kindergarten. We were reading his sister Carrie, a younger sister, a story about sibling rivalry. The brother was mad at the sister, and we heard Eric murmur, "Yeah, sometimes your anger can block your love." And we said, "Whoa!" And later on, as we tucked Eric in, Cheryl said, "Sweetie, did you learn that in kindergarten today?" And Eric just said, "No, I figured that out myself. Sometimes your anger can block your love. It's sort of like sometimes clouds get in front of the sun." And he paused and then he said, "But the sun is still there." And so we enrolled him in philosophical and seminary school at that point. But I think of it now because that helps me, and maybe it helps us all to remember that there might be some anger there, but through it, it's all comes from the love. And I hope that's our focus today. That said, I sure hope all of us can tell our loved ones to do the research, get tested, and get vaccinated. And finally, the last thing I'll say is, Alan, the first song I ever heard you play after you taught yourself to play piano, which blew me away, was Maybe I'm Amazed. And you look like him with the beard that we saw in some of the photos. And I think that was a fitting song that I first heard because there was no maybe when it comes to your talent, your heart, your fun-loving spirit, and your giving friendship. So maybe we're all amazed at the way we love you. So rest in peace, brother. Thank you.
Beautiful, Rick. Thank you. I want to read a quick note that Bobby Brandon just posted. A recording of the Zoom session will be visible tomorrow, and the long and short version of the video will be available at allenoxlives.com. So for anybody you might know that missed this, couldn't make it, you can pass that on. Nancy, hi. Let's unmute Nancy.
Hello. I just wanted to say what a beautiful tribute to Alan this was, and thank you, Brandons and Ginsburg and everybody who was involved in it. I don't know some of the names even, but it was just lovely and heartbreaking. I also wanted to tell a story about Alan from a long time ago, that he was a kind person, even way back, those of you who didn't know him then. But I think it was the early high school. I went to Alan and I said, I want to learn how to play the drums. And he took me seriously. He didn't laugh too hard. And so we went down into his basement where he had his drums. And about 30 minutes later into the lesson, 20 minutes later, everybody knew this was not going to happen. But he was so kind about it. He could have said all kinds of things that a young man could have said that could have been ugly and embarrassed me. But instead he said, perhaps we can find you a different instrument. I just thought, that's Alan. He was just so kind. And I wish I had kept up with him more after we graduated. We all kind of dispersed, and it's good to see some of your faces tonight. I recognize many of you. So thank you all for putting this together. I don't get to go to the high school reunions, so this is kind of my reunion.
It's great to see you, Nancy. You look lovely.
Oh, thank you. All of you do.
Mr. Newstead.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Bobby, and thank you guys. Everybody said it. Thanks for all you guys did in putting this thing together. What a great tribute to a great guy. Somebody's got to mention Guys and Dolls here. I mean, what a great show, right? I mean, Guys and Dolls with Peanuts, Valerie Pineman and Morty. I think you were on there, and Judy Goodman. What a great job Sky Masterson did. One of my great memories of U City and being in that show. I worked in the One North Brentwood building, and Ruth's Chris was at the bottom of that building. And I used to go down after work, and Ox would be down there sometimes playing, and I'd have a drink and chat with them. And so that's a memory that I cherish and will always remember. But Ricky, I want to elaborate. You mentioned the time he came over to the hall. My mom was there, your mom was there, and he would give of his time to older folks. But beyond that, he and Al Hammerman would do a lot of shows for charities, St. Louis charities. And one of the charities that I was involved with was Old Newsboys. And he and Al Hammerman did a concert at the Sheldon that benefited a lot of underserved children in the St. Louis community. So I want to just make sure that everybody sees and remembers that side of Ox as well, because he did a lot to give back to underserved kids and those that needed a lot of help. So
Thanks, Steve.
thanks to you guys
Hi,
again
Annie.
for putting this together.
You bet. Hi, Annie. Take it away.
Hi. Jay was waiting longer than me, so just FYI, he's hanging in there. So thank you, Jay, for letting me cut in front. I'm Annie Oxenhandler. I'm Harry's daughter, Harry and Lucy, Lauren and Evan's older cousin, Joshy's cousin, niece to Gary and Janet, and all the good Oxenhandlers. It's really nice to be here and see all of you tonight. Thank you. Thank you for putting it together. So many beautiful stories. I just have a little story. I have so many great memories of Uncle Al, but one of my most treasured that I keep by my bedside. I lost my husband in 2012. February 2012, and Ollie wasn't able to come to the service. And if I'm misremembering, family, please please help me out. My memory is very vague from that time, but he made me a really beautiful image because he was very spiritual, and I am as well, of a master walking alongside the beach with Ethan, and you really can't see it.
Bring it up close.
Very well. There's a glare on it. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
But Uncle Al sent me just a really sweet, very Uncle Al note of basically like, I made this thing for you. It reminded me of you and Ethan, but you could only look at it once and that'd be fine. And I've kept it by my bedside ever since. He wrote it in October of 2012, and it's beautiful, and I love that I have it. And honestly, now that he's passed on, I just think of him more and more. When I see this image, I don't just think of someone walking alongside Ethan, but my late husband, but I think of Al. And I don't think he tried to make the master or the spiritual guide in Uncle Al's image, but it sure looks like him. So it's very sweet, and just a treasured little precious gift that he gave me. And he'd send me little love notes just like that, either text or a phone call, just randomly. And it really meant a lot. That's it.
Beautiful, Annie. Okay, Jay, you're up. Thanks for your patience. We'll get, here you go.
Well, the Ryder family and the Oxenhamler family, I can't say we were close, but my father considered Lou Oxenhandler his dearest and longest friend. And I'm embarrassed to say, I don't know what sparked that friendship. I don't know if they grew up together or if it was in World War II, but they bonded together through life. And like everything happens in St. Louis, the family paths crossed every now and then unexpectedly. And one of my, I don't know if it's fondest, but one of my memories is at the time, you know, there was Hanley Junior High and Brittany Junior High. And my dad would go down to Lou's place on Saturdays, and he brought me a couple times. And Lou said, Gary, show Jay around. So Gary showed me around, and he said, well, here's the latest thing we're wearing at Hanley, and it's white Levi's. I said, oh no, I can't wear that at Brittany. Blue jeans are strictly prohibited. And I'm embarrassed to say I wasn't as big a rebel then as I turned out to be, but that was one of my earliest memories of the Oxenhandler family. And then my sister, my younger sister, Lynn Ryder, went to high school, was in the same class with Al, and developed a good relationship with them. And then about 5 years ago, I came into our condominium lobby, and there was Al playing the piano. Turns out our condominium had hired him to be the entertainment for our holiday party. And needless to say, when COVID came, we suspended the parties. But this year we resumed the holiday party, and there was a real void not having Al there. We had an entertainer, but it just wasn't the same. And I only have fond memories of Alan, and whenever he would see me, he'd welcome me with open arms. And his death is a real loss. So just want to thank you for the opportunity to share the good memories and his talents tonight. Thank you.
Nice of you to be here, Jay. Joey, I just want to throw something in really quick. And it struck me as Jay was talking, I think in our lives and in our vicinities growing up in St. Louis or wherever we grow up, there are places that are a hub. It could be a bowling alley or a delicatessen or a kind of a center of energy. And B&L, and Gary and Harry could elaborate on this a lot better than I could. B&L was sort of one of those major hubs, I think, for a lot of us that grew up in St. Louis, not only because of just the commercial energy that went on and the interface between the Jewish community and the Black community, but it was where a lot of us shopped because Lou was always making deals. And all of the Oxenhandler boys worked down there. And a lot of my memories about Al were, it was an intense environment. It was, is that fair to say, Gary? I think that's fair to say, because it was a lot going on, and there was a pawn shop, it was a fashion shop. But the interesting thing, how Al was integrated into that, as all of the boys were. And I'll never forget B&L as long as I live. It left, in fact, I worked for Lou for a while in an outlet store of B&L. But all right, Joe, I wanted to, before I forgot that.
Well, am I on? Yeah.
You're on.
So I have a connection to that B&L comment. So Al and I were much more than music buddies. I mean, also I had the opportunity to own 2 small houses in Kirkwood after I moved from Webster, and Al became my tenant, and he paid $300 for like basically what would have been called a yellow shack. And after the band broke up, he continued to rent from me for a long time. So that was kind of the end of my music career and beginning to train. However, the Internal Revenue Service did not realize that my music career was over. So they decided to send myself and Alan Oxenhandler an invitation for an audit at the IRS. And by the way, this story is in the hour and 20-minute version of the many voices of the Ox. And just a brief comment about this hour and 20 minutes. This was so difficult to take this down from 5 hours to 1 hour and 20 minutes that Bob Brandon had to do an edit to take it down to 30 minutes to meet a Zoom. But if you all love Al, and I think we all do, I think you'll want to see this, because what this film really is a distillation of a person's life. And everybody'd say, well, an hour and 20 minutes is too much. An hour and 20 minutes is too much. And I said, hey, listen, it's his entire life that I've wrapped up into, and it's the only pieces of recorded media. So I encourage all of you to see that. So back to that IRS audit. So Al and I reunite the band. We go down to Market Street. We go to the IRS. We go into 2 booths. Al is doing all this with humor. I'm going in there with a state of fear. I hate the IRS. And so consequently, Al looks at his cubicle and he goes, oh, this is just like a recording studio. I've got my own little cubicle. So they interview him and they interview me. And I can hear what they're asking him, and I know what they're asking me. I kind of handled my side of it, but I could hear the IRS agent going at Al about the band fund. And this is where B&L comes in. He said, well, what about this what about this band fund? Where did that money go? You mean to say 25% of the money was not reported as income? And Al goes, well, you'd have to talk to Joey about that. Joey, the bass player. So suddenly the Internal Revenue Service wants to talk to Joey, the band fund. So as they come in to start talking to me, Al says, excuse me. And this is about what you guys all said, that Al had no problems being the center of attention. Al fainted at the Internal Revenue Service office, and 5 women took him out to like a fainting couch, and they were all bringing him water and aspirins. And while that was going on, they were auditing me and saying, where did that 25% go? And I said, where the 25% went, I started pulling out these 8x10s of these double knit suits. I said, we went down to Al's father at B&L and we bought these fine double knit 1970s outfits. Meanwhile, Al's got the IRS agents around him, and I think we paid a small fine, but God, I paid more than he did.
That's great, Joe. I wish I had some of those shark skin suits from B&L.
Yeah, baby.
Lauren, hello, dear. There you go.
Oh dear. Hi, I'm Lauren Allen's daughter, for those who may not know me. I just first want to express just like my extreme just gratitude and appreciation for all the players in this party that put together and really honored the life of my father and the impact that he left us all. I'm gonna laugh and maybe cry. You're welcome. My dad's with me often, and I'm really grateful for that. And one of the first times that he told me he was going to be around often was a day or two after he passed. My partner Ryan and I went down to Gary and Janet's in Columbia, and we're taking a walk at the beautiful trail behind their home. And we were walking back towards the house, and one of my dad's favorite things to do when he stepped outside was look up to see what was up there. UFOs, a sunset. And I got the message to look up, and my heart stopped and I stopped, and I literally stood and looked up, and written in the clouds in very, very clear definition was the letter A. And he shows up for me all the time. So I'm really grateful to have his continued support. And I want to leave with actually some of his words. I am a cancer survivor, actually 5 years this month. And I had the pleasure and the honor of living in St. Louis when I was going through treatment. And besides Ryan, he was my other major caregiver. And I'm so grateful for that time that we got to spend, even under the circumstances. And we've had very different views about medical systems and doctors and choices. And we still respected each other. He still came to the chemo room with me. And also he wrote me this really beautiful poem that is like my lifeline a lot of the time. So I thought I'd share that with you all. Bear with me. The flow of energy in my beautiful body springs of the eternal life force of goodness, delivering its high energy charge to each and every cell in my life body. The only cells that live in my body are pure, life purposeful and beneficial, free from malform or dis-ease. Only the cells that fulfill the directive of total health and life-sustaining power enhancement are integral to me. Any shadow of dark cells cannot exist in my atomic structure and are hereby expunged, forever relegated to nothingness, to ashen waste, and are discharged and swept away as nothing in the powerful river of the beautiful life force. The life force flows throughout, flows within, and flows with ease, for there is only ease. These words I speak ring true to every cell in my body. These words I speak resonate in every atom in my being, in every cell, for there is only order, which this perfect body humbly, gratefully, and dutifully adheres. There is no disorder. As my body is the beautiful flowing fountain of this life force, I declare these words as charged and penetrating and as having the highest level of implication of fulfilled action in all the universe of my being and soul, and that these words are breaking through any and all lesser realities.
Thank you, Lauren. Love you, dear. Is that Vicky Pastor?
Huh?
Is that Vicky Pastor I see raising?
Oh.
Were you done, Lauren? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm all set. Thanks, Bobby.
Is that you?
Yes. Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Vicky.
My new laptop is making my picture upside down. And
We're
I don't
not-
think anyone wants
We're
to
not
see
seeing
me
it at
upside
all.
down.
We would take you upside down gladly if that's all you can. There you go.
There you are.
We'll all stand on our heads for you.
Well,
Hi,
Lauren,
Vicky.
thank you. Thank you for that. It was so amazing and really brought for me the presence of Alan even more so than he's already been here with all of us tonight. I'm so moved by this. I recently was in St. Louis visiting my family, and from the time the plane landed, there was something missing for me. Alan has been such an integral part of my life. He helped me grow up. We met in homeroom back at Hanley, and I became his girlfriend. He was my boyfriend. We had so much fun. He taught me so many things. I was just like a little innocent person, and he wasn't. And we just had the best time. And then we met the Brandon twins. It was like that in-between time between Hanley and high school. And Bobby, I just love all of you so much. And Alan was sort of the piece that pulled it all together, sewed us all together, it seemed like. I feel so blessed. He would come over every day after school, and the whole, bunch of the kids would come. But the main thing was my mother and Alan's connection. My mother passed away when I was 19. But they had such a connection. He would come and he would play the piano for her, just like you did, Bob, later. Bob Brandon would come and he'd play for her too. And my mother loved the music, and she loved the kids hanging around the house. And we always just had the best time laughing and listening to music. So Ellen, we stayed in touch over the years, and I'd see him in St. Louis when I'd visit sometimes, and I just really, really missed him this trip. And I think about him all the time. He's an integral part of my life. He always will be, and I think we'll all meet again. I do. We're just so inextricably linked, So bless you all. Thank you for putting this together. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous evening. Thank you.
Great to see you, Vicky. Alan
Yes,
loves you very
side
much.
out.
David, hello.
Hey there. So just a little context. I grew up in St. Louis. Gary Oxenhandler is my uncle, and he was always the cool uncle. And Alan was the cool uncle's even cooler brother. So I got to know Alan a little bit as a young person. I've lived in New York for about 20 years now, but have deep roots in St. Louis. And when I was 25, I was in St. Louis visiting, and my younger brother, Kevin, who was 22 at the time, tragically died in a car accident. And so we had a service at St. Anselm's Catholic Church, which was the church I sort of went to with my mom, who was Irish Catholic. And that whole period of my life was a blur for a few days. But one of the enduring memories I have is, Alan was there and played the John Lennon song, Beautiful Boy, at the memorial for my brother. And it was very moving, and it was one of the sort of few bright, positive things I could possibly take away from such a tragic circumstance. And with the benefit of hindsight, there's also a little bit of sort of humor that goes along with a Jewish guy singing a John Lennon song in a Catholic church run by Benedictine monks. So that might be a first of its kind. But it was incredible. And I think it's a tribute to the type of person that Alan was. And I don't know that I ever got a chance to say thank you to Alan for doing that in the moment, but I really do appreciate it. And it was a beautiful tribute tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Well, we may be close to wrapping this up unless there's someone else that would like to add something. I will say this very briefly. Alan and I roomed together our first year in college, and we had a great time. It only lasted a semester because he left, and I managed to get out of my dorm contract by saying I had to keep kosher. But Al and I got along very well, but there's a memory that is stuck in my mind that was one of the only confrontational moments I think I had with Al. And I don't even remember what it was over. There was something that I did or some way that I treated someone, and Al called me out on it. And the conversation led us to a place where we started talking about the ego. And as you all know, Alan was very spiritual and very philosophical. And he went into a dialogue with me saying that all of us are driven by our egos. I've never forgotten this. He said, everything we do, our egos drive us. And I was arguing with him about this. And he said, no, trust me, this is true. And I said, well, Al, then how do we even get along? How do we care about other people? Why, how do we exist in a society together? And he said, we do that because people who have some sense of awareness realize that we're here to keep ourselves alive. It's about survival. It's about ego. But the best way to do that is to make everyone around us happy, safe, and comfortable. And it was almost turning this whole idea of ego inside out in a way that was kind of revelatory to me. It may just be so much semantics, but I've never forgotten it. And I've always kind of, it changed my whole idea of Al. It enlightened me that he wasn't just this carefree, comedic, talented, incredible person. He was very deep. And I think that this is probably a testimony. Everything that we have shared here tonight, I think, is a reflection of all that Al was and all that he has left with us and how he will live on. And I see Alan Fields raising his hand. So Alan, have at it. We're going to get you unmuted here in a second, Alan. There we go. You got it, Alan. We cannot hear you. Can anyone hear Alan?
No.
All right. Try again, Alan. You should be. For some reason, we're not getting you, Alan.
Maybe he was waving goodbye. Bye.
Well, thanks again to everybody. There was a lot of heart and soul that went into this, and Alan's sharing a screen. Oh, well.
This could go south real fast.
One last chance if anybody would like to chime in here before we. All right, Joey Sohm, God bless you, my man. You really were kind of the heart and soul of this all happening. I think it's something that we all needed. Oxen handlers, you're all incredible. Love you all. And AlanOxLives.com. Don't forget that is an up and running testimony to our dear friend. So with that, I bid you all adieu.
Beautiful job. Thank you.
Beautiful,
Bobby.
Bobby.
Good
Good night,
job
everybody.
hosting us all. Bobby, thanks. for
Great
hosting
job.
us all.
Great job.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy birthday to Alan.
That's right.
Happy birthday to
to
you.
Happy birthday.
Birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
you.
Waiting for you.
Yeah, take that one on the road, Brett.
Great to see everyone. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
You're gonna
Good night.
stay on?
Good night.
Okay. Bob, are you gonna stay on for a minute?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's see. Hey, Cap, what's up, buddy? Sammy, good to see you, man.
Hey, man, great job, Bobby.
Sambo, I love seeing you, man. How
Yeah.
are you?
You know, you were talking about the B&L. I still have a Nehru suit from the B&L.
Do you really?
No.
I
You still
remember
fit in
when-
it?
Yeah, I wish.
Hey, Bobby G, Bobby
Yeah.
G, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Listen, I am in the business of facilitating large groups, and I just want you to know that you are stellar, man. Heartful, skillful, watchful, a shepherd.
I got my degree, my BS degree, so.
Well, man, it's beautiful. And
Thank
Bobby
you, man.
Brandon, way to go, Bobby Brandon and Joey, Michael. I know you were behind a lot of this, so blessings to you guys. It was so special for everyone who was here. He hears us up there, I bet you.
You guys did an amazing job. Joey, way to go. And
Unbelievable.
Bobby, great job with the microphone, man. You really are great MC.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do weddings, bar mitzvahs, brisses, and you call on
How
me.
about brisses? You still do a bris? I need a bris done.
I'll take 20% off for you.
You just take the tips. I got it. Yeah.
Suze, great job, Suze. Thank you for pulling all the loose ends together. God, I haven't seen you, Myra.
Susan and Mandy may have let, oh no, there they are, Suze. And Mike Lanoff. So let me say Mike Lanoff and Sambo and a couple of you guys, Waxo, and a
Excess
couple
luck,
of you
yeah.
guys contributed to our costs for getting the website back up, because the old website still said that Ox was booking gigs as late as
Yeah.
14 months after he passed away.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And
I've got him booked on a couple of gigs, actually.
You
His
don't,
price went up.
you
his
do
price
not
went up.
get a booking commission, Ginsburg, just because you get a booking out of this. But yeah, and I don't know if Patty Emery's still on, but
She is.
she was is she still on?
It looks like.
Hey, Patty, anyway, I know that Patty was very appreciative that there's now this new website, and now we have video of Suze. So if anyone's wondering, Suze was my compadre in putting together the website. She is a website extraordinaire and has quite a bit of technical expertise in all this stuff. Having last worked for the Obama administration in the Department of Archives, National Archives, is that correct? I kind of got it right, something like that.
Bravo, Suze, bravo. Bring him back.
So thanks to everybody who contributed toward making this happen. That was just awesome. I gotta go get drunk. No, I can't do that, but I have a friend that's coming over. There you go, Sambo.
Good to.
On the Eastern time here, it's 10 o'clock here, man.
Yeah.
Bob
Past my
Becker.
bedtime.
What'd you say,
You're
Jim?
the star of the night, man. Awesome job on the video. And I
Yeah,
urge
Joe.
everyone here who hasn't seen it to take a look at the long version, because then you'll get an opportunity to see extended versions of, these videos that Joey puts together, it's a combination of photographs and drone photography as well as time-lapse photography that is simply stunning.
Yes.
So don't limit yourselves to the 33-minute version of this.
No way.
Of his incredible creation.
And we're hoping also that it's a limited access site, but the X-rated version with what really happened with Nancy when she went down for the drum lesson, that's going to be coming out.
Well, hey, listen, as long as you're going there, I could have brought up the dates that Alan introduced me to happened to be the Manoli sisters.
Oh,
Grace
in the basement. I know that story.
Stop there.
We're still recording, fellas. Let's keep it clean. We still have a lot of people.
Still recording. Better turn off the recorder. Yeah, oh, yeah, really.
Now we got
Mandy, is Mandy on here?
I
Mandy,
sing-
turn that recording off.
And I see Robert Becker, as in Bob Becker, who played guitar in bands,
Yeah.
Oxen Handler and me.